Good afternoon. This is Jude Meyers, Gallia County Local School Superintendent, and we are featuring our show, School Pride Countywide, another edition, and we really want you to stay tuned. We have an exciting guest today, Dr. Denise Shockley from our Educational Service Center, and we have some great stories to share. So please stay tuned to our next episode. Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Jude Meyers, Superintendent at Gallia County Local Schools. Welcome to this episode of School Pride Countywide. It's hard to believe we're into January already. A lot of questions on where's our snow days, and we haven't had any yet, so we're kind of dodging the weather at this point. But I want to start the show as I normally do. Thank you so much to the University of Rio Grande for their access to the TV studio, to the great two gentlemen I get to work with every time I come here, who do a wonderful job putting our production on, and I know they also support other shows that some of our principals have in the district. So again, a big thank you to the University of Rio Grande for allowing us to tell our story. As you know, Gallia County Local Schools offers many programs. We value numerous things, and today part of our episode is going to talk about some of the support we get in order to do the things that we need to do to impact our kids. But as I always say, education is a process that it's more than just the classroom and textbooks and texts and things like that. We value the arts, we value athletics, we value our band, our choir, the rigor in our programs with our AP program. Just recently we sent a group of River Valley students to Portsmouth and Marietta to compete in mock trial, which is a really worthwhile venture. And I know Dr. Shockley is very much involved with the beta program, which is something we are definitely going to touch base on later on in our program, which is an excellent leadership opportunity for our kids. So, and the nice thing about our programs is we're very fortunate that we do not have participation fees. So our kids are able to provide these opportunities and be involved in these different ventures without putting that burden on the family, because we know that it's a very difficult time and a lot of our families can't afford extra fees and purchases. And so we're thankful that we can provide these opportunities for our kids. My guest today is Dr. Denise Shockley. I met Dr. Shockley. It's funny, it's been 5 years ago that I came to Gallia County, and she's one of the first people I met. And here's what I can tell you about Dr. Shockley. Nobody loves the kids more in Gallia County than Dr. Shockley. And I can tell you she's got a love for dogs, because we talked about our dogs. And she's got a love for books and reading. And anytime she can come up with funds, and we'll talk about grants later on, she's always very interested in doing what she can to make sure that our libraries have those resources in a digital age. And so she's very passionate about the county, our kids, this university, this community, and it didn't take very long to figure that out. And probably one of the questions that people would ask is, what is an ESC? What's an Educational Service Center? Why would you be sitting up here today? And how do you, and I think a half hour is definitely not enough time to talk about the many, many, many things that you do and your staff, which is a fantastic staff. But what is an Educational Service Center? And you don't only just serve Gallia County Local Schools, but you serve multiple schools in the Tri-County area.
That's correct, Jude. An Educational Service Center is a school district in itself with a superintendent, treasurer, elected board members, staff, and our job is to provide services for local school districts, governmental entities, and community agencies. By law, we serve our local school districts, which is Gallia County Local Schools and Vinton County Local Schools. And then we also serve 3 city school districts, which is Jackson City, Wellston City, and Gallipolis City Schools. We have a variety of contact districts, including Gallia County Board of DD, Jackson County Board of DD. We serve programs in Chesapeake Union Exempted Village Schools, along with Dawson Bryan Local Schools, and then any school district that wants to do services with us. So we listen very carefully to the needs of our district, and then we build the services to support their mission.
So the question is, how did you get to that position? Can you talk a little bit about your career path and what has led you to this position as superintendent of the Educational Service Center?
I am in year 42 of my career, and that's a long time to be working with families and teachers and students, but it's been a very enjoyable career. I started out in Gallia County Local Schools back in 1977 in food service operation. I thought I wanted to be a home economics teacher, and there weren't any jobs available, so I took a job at the county office managing the cafeteria programs, and little did I know what a great learning experience that would be, because it was there that I understood what it meant to run a county operation. I left there to enter the teaching field at Buckeye Hills Career Center and taught for 12 years and then moved into administration with a variety of programs in both secondary and adult. And then I had the opportunity to come to the Education Service Center and start building programs and services for local districts, and that's really been a remarkable step in my career. And it was at the Career Center, I must say, that I learned a business model, particularly in adult education, that helped me immensely in being able to write grants and pursue services and get things that local districts need.
And it's interesting because when people ask, what kinds of things does Dr. Shockley and the Educational Service Center do? I said, it depends on the day. As you know, in the past, if we come to you, you've provided community liaisons when we've needed help assisting our guidance counselors and with the multiple student needs. We may come to you and say, hey, we need a part-time psychologist. We may need a math coach. We might need this, that, or the other thing. And it's very nice that you have the resources to be able to reach out to a variety of people and then fill those needs, whether it's long-term, short-term, and continued. So your job is to support the schools, which you do a very good job of. And where I'm in charge of Gallia County Local Schools, Dr. Shockley has to answer to multiple school districts. And I know there's great appreciation for all the things you do. And then, of course, you make it to graduations and stay involved in that program. And so let's talk about some of these programs and some of these grants that you kind of supervise. And let's start with probably one of the biggest grants, and that's 21st Century Grant. And obviously when we talk grants, it's not a guarantee. I do want to go on the record and say Dr. Shockley is known statewide for her expertise when it comes to grant writing and securing grants. So if you happen to be from Gallia County, this is a lady that you need to be thankful for, because she advocates for this county and the local surrounding counties that she represents to try and bring funds, not in the budget, to Gallia County, Jackson County, Vinton County, to help serve the needs of kids. And if you mention her name in Columbus, everybody knows who Dr. Shockley is. And so we're very fortunate to have her advocating for us. And because of her hard work, our districts benefit greatly. So, and one of the ones, if you can talk a little bit about 21st Century Grant, because most people think, well, you get a grant, that's free money. And of course, as we know, there's many, many, many strings attached with audits and everything else. So why don't we dive into that one first?
Okay. We have managed many, many after-school grants, and currently right now we're managing 16 grants that represents 18 after-school sites. Those grants range all the way from Cold Grove up through Wellston. And as Jude said, we work in many different school districts. What Gallia County needs may not be exactly what Vinton County needs. So we have to listen very carefully, study the makeup of the district, talk with administration, teachers, the community, look at the school report cards before we even start drafting what those grants are going to look like. Grants are very competitive, and I'm pleased to say that since the ESC has been here at the university, and we, by the way, are the only ESC on a college campus, we have been able to secure over $40 million in grants. And that is our tax money coming back to this local area to support our schools and our citizens, our students. And an after-school grant is intended to provide extra intervention and enrichment for children that are at risk and need a safe place to be after school. We have many, many committed staff who stay in our school buildings and work in our programs to help our children. We focus a lot on reading and mathematics. We also focus on youth development activities and on family engagement. Our community partners are very vital to our after-school program, and many of them come in and provide activities and particularly help with our family engagement events.
And I know in a recent conversation with Mr. Moore, who helps run our after-school program, the question came up about drones. And because I know that some of the instructor involves drones, and happy to say that they do not have policies on drones yet, but the value of drones and that technology piece, and again, that's where that communication, where Mr. Moore is checking and saying, hey, what's your policy? Are you allowed to do that? Here's what we're doing with the curriculum. Our kids love it. It's a hands-on experience, and more and more they're being used in multiple capacities. But again, that's that communication piece. So it's not just the reading and math, and then a lot of times those kids get a snack or something before they go home. So knowing that we deal with a high poverty rate, we're on a federal foods program where our kids are getting breakfast and lunch. Well, they're getting hungry between 3 and 4 o'clock, and that program also provides some type of snacks and things like that before they go home.
We really concentrate on listening to what students are interested in doing. You mentioned drones. There's a big emphasis right now on other types of robotics and in learning about other cultures. Just this past week, we had a group of students that went to see a Japanese movie and dined at a Japanese restaurant, and that was an experience that they'd never had before. We take kids to Broadway as often as possible. We have various performers and actors come in along with several motivational speakers. So it's just a lot of things that we try to expose the students to that they may never be able to do on their own, or perhaps their families can't afford to help them do those things.
Can you talk a little bit about, and I know this is kind of maybe off the cuff, but how are they using the drones for the after-school program?
Well, we are building obstacle courses. Not only are we teaching them to fly, but we're also teaching them to maneuver them. Because as you know, coming up in our future is going to be packages delivered right to our doorstep with drones. So how exciting that a child may have a career being able to help in that industry. So they're very interested in drones. Several of them like to take pictures. And with us living in the hilly area and along the river valley, there's just great opportunities to fly those drones.
And I know, like for our campus, as you know, some are set in some very, very beautiful settings, but to get a good overhead snapshot of those is very difficult. And a lot of those pictures now are being taken by drones that can take a picture just like your cell phone can from up in the air. So, and then the other thing, as somebody explained to me, that there's actually a correlation between maneuvering a drone and the same thing as what the military uses with some of their technology. So that would be a skill that could be utilized, crossed over if they have a career in the military as well. Let's jump to summer school programs. And we probably run as a complete summer school program as anybody, and I think Dr. Shockley will echo this, but our school systems are based on a very primitive schedule back on the agricultural calendars. And so when we end in the end of May and we don't start back up till August, we get about a 2.5 month gap between learning. So that summer school helps maintain, sustain, do interventions for some of those kids to keep them on track in a time where they need that help, because we know if they don't pick up a book or they don't read and they're not engaged for 2.5 months, chances are it's going to take us a lot of time at the beginning of the school year to get them caught back up. So can you talk about the support you've given us for summer school and what that program looks like?
2 years ago, Dana Glassburn, who's the director of Gallia County Job and Family Services, contacted me to ask if I could come up with a pilot program to help bridge the summer slide, because he was seeing a lot of children and families that needed services in the summertime, and he wanted to connect to the schools and he wanted to have a lasting impact on these students. We came up with a 21-day intervention program and introduced it to both Gallia County Local Schools and Gallipolis City Schools, and we started with around 400 children that first year. Dana also said that he wanted us to involve families, and there are various components he wanted the families to be involved in, such as budgeting, financial management, good nutrition, exercise, and the list goes on. And we worked with a variety of partners, including our school nurses, Gallia County Health Department, and we put together a comprehensive program that was implemented in the local schools. And what we saw was very happy children getting to come to school 3 days a week. They were there for 3 hours, and then we just started growing it from there. And we began to notice that the children who came to summer school were not losing their reading level over the summer, which was huge, because we don't want students starting to school and they are not able to stay on the reading level. And then last summer we expanded the program to over 700 students, and people began to say, this is really working. We want our child involved in reading and in summer school. We want them to have extracurricular activities, and as parents they were very excited about coming and participating with their child in various activities. The health department fair became a very large event, and I remember Dr. Valley standing outside the health department, and his eyes were just wide, like, this is great, look at all these people coming together. So it was just really a wonderful opportunity for all of our community vendors to come together and support health initiatives here in Gallia County.
And of course, at the end of that program, as I know when I come to work, there's lines out the door because there's some incentives tied into attendance in that summer program. And some of those incentives are pretty nice, if you want to share a little bit about that.
Of course, children like surprises and they like to work on their goals. And if a student came for 85% of the time, which was 18 of the 21 days, they could get a tablet this year. They could also get $200 worth of school clothes. They could get a backpack and their school supplies. So it was a win for the students, it was a win for the parents, and really was a win for the school district.
Absolutely, and you talk about those gaps, and that's probably the biggest thing that we look at, is that sustaining those academic levels over the course of the summer, which is really so important. And they really love those incentives, and to see those kids just make sure that they're there and the parents make sure they're there, and then the benefit from clothing and a tablet and a backpack and things like that. It's just really a very comprehensive program, and again, that's something I bet a lot of our viewers don't realize, that is out of your organization along with Dana, and just a neat opportunity for our kids.
I wanted to point out this was a pilot program in Gallia County, and we're still fine-tuning it, and we would like to see it expand to other counties. But right now it has been a pilot program in Gallia County.
And one of the questions people may ask is, because of the collaboration with the ESC, does Gallia County work with other counties? And maybe talk a little bit about our monthly or bi-monthly superintendent meetings we have, in that collaboration where we showcase things and share things, because it is, we've built a nice network of colleagues that we can run ideas by and things like that. So
our superintendents are a very tight-knit group, and they don't care to sit down and be very open and honest and share their ideas, ask questions, ask for help. And we meet on a bi-monthly basis, and that is a way for districts to share what's going on. Sometimes we bring speakers in. Representative Ryan Smith has been with us before. And just a variety of things get discussed. I also want to talk some about our connection with Buckeye Hills Career Center, because Jamie Nash, who is the new superintendent of Buckeye Hills Career Center, has been very receptive to holding his superintendent meetings at the same time that the Gallia-Vinton ESC holds our superintendent meetings. And it's a good collaboration because we do a lot of joint programming with them. For example, in the summertime for the past 4 years, we have been offering a career palooza for students leaving the 7th grade. Students get to be bused into Buckeye Hills Monday through Thursday. They go through a series of rotations to try different hands-on job opportunities. And then on Friday's the fun time. We go to Kings Island and they have to find careers there that mimic what we did at Buckeye Hills Career Center. And that's not to say we're not having fun, because we certainly are, but at the same time it's very career related.
And with the career piece, again, like the ESC, Buckeye Hill hosts schools from multiple school districts. So a kid from Gallia County will go and take classes with a kid from Gallipolis City, from Jackson City, from Oak Hill, you name it. And so there's a little diversity out there with some of the programs that they have. And it's really neat to see what Jamie's doing and bringing that into the mix, because when the superintendents get together with you and Jamie, we can really talk about a comprehensive program that impacts all of our kids to make sure we're trying to get them all prepared for life after high school. So one of the things we definitely need to talk about, and something that I'm very jealous about, in a previous life I used to be a social studies teacher, and I've taught everything on the APN to psychology and things like that, but every June my phone starts getting bombarded with pictures from my teachers that are on some type of field trip, whether it be a cultural exchange somewhere in the United States. I'm not sure you ventured out of the United States yet. I know a lot of that is there was a plan, but with safety concerns at sometimes. But all of a sudden I'm getting pictures from Pearl Harbor, I'm getting pictures from Yellowstone Park, I'm getting pictures from New Orleans and historical battle sites, and like, hey, wish you were here. And so, that jealousy, but I know you run a program, and it's a summer institute for these teachers, and it's not only Gallia County, but it's multiple, and you have an opportunity to take them all over the country, and different folks explore different things. Like, I know you took a group like to the Lincoln Museum in Illinois, I think Springfield, and that was for maybe a younger group. And can you talk a little bit about that exchange that an education program for our teachers, because that's really cool.
We have been doing social studies, field studies for about 10 years. And it started many years ago with the American Institute of History Education in New Jersey. And I worked with them on a federal history grant from the U.S. Department of Education. And that was for grades 3 to 8 at that time. And as the years progressed, it became very obvious to me that the elementary teachers needed to be in one group and the middle school teachers in another. And I, at the same time, had not done anything with the high school age group. So I combined the middle school and the high school group, and that became Landmark Moments, and my elementary group became the 5-Star Liberty Fellowship. We try to focus on specific things that will help the teachers in their curriculum that they're presenting to students, and to take them to places that perhaps they've never experienced before. For example, last summer the high school group traveled west, and we were in Wyoming and Montana and parts of Idaho. It was important for the teachers because, first of all, many of them had never been there. And secondly, we had an outstanding professor, Dr. Dan Flores, who's one of the top history persons in that part of the West, who's a very published author. And he was with us the whole week. And we went to national parks. We even went and met the governor of Montana, Governor Bullock. And what's exciting to the teachers right now is that he is a potential presidential candidate. I mean, he spent 40 minutes with our teachers talking about educational issues and things that they were interested in on the national scene. That's something we cannot duplicate here, but it's very important to a teacher who is teaching history. My elementary group, I took to a number of states over the years. Last year we were in Illinois and did everything Lincoln. And while we were in Chicago, we met the national impersonator for Abraham Lincoln. And he agreed to come here to our counties and go around and meet the students. So that was exciting for the teachers. So not are we on field studies, but we are connecting with the top historians in the country, and we're connecting it back to the classroom.
And I hear our teachers say, and I know we've even had some like English teachers go, because we do a lot of cross collaboration where some of the readings that they do in their class support the historical component. And our teachers are just blown away by the opportunity, but there's nothing better than presenting a lesson when you can give a firsthand account of that, and then you build those resources and people that really support those different things that you do. But that's one that somehow, some way, I want to get on one of those trips. I suggested that maybe we go to Normandy at some point in time, and because of the celebration for D-Day. But I know you're always looking for different opportunities for our folks to kind of shake it up a little bit and to take them to a different area of the country and explore different things. And that's really neat. I think the other thing, Denise, we want to talk about is board support. And I know you make it a habit of coming around every year and meeting with our boards of education. We talk a little bit about what's going on in the district, but prior to the start of the school year, you always run some type of a board-in service and pick a topic and select a topic that's applicable to the times. I know that our topic this summer was sexting and social media and some of the things, because when you meet with superintendents, you're hearing that's the type of discipline issues we're dealing with. So it brings board members into the loop. So talk a little bit about the professional development that through the ESC you offer to board members.
I try to go out to every Board of Education and attend at least 2 of their board meetings and speak with them each year. And then in August, right after the Gallia County Fair, we always have an in-service together where we have 7 boards of education that come in, and whatever the topic is that the superintendents have selected, we'll bring in a national or regional speaker for those board members to provide in-service for them. We've been doing it for a number of years, and it's been very well received, and I think the board members appreciate the fact that they can learn about a topic and be able to talk to board members from other districts.
And I think that's been a nice topic of conversation, because you'll see board members saying, having those conversations, are you dealing with the same thing in your district? And that networking of boards, where I think sometimes they feel isolated, and again, not a lot of people know sometimes what board members do. But that opportunity for professional development for them is really unique. And I know that we've done the one with this summer with the social media. We've done ones where it's been Batman that has come in, and it's really with trauma and being able to reach kids with those deep-seated issues. And then Batman would come around to the schools later on in the year to put on programs for our kids. So I know the clock is kind of winding down. We're here in the last minute, and we haven't talked about some of the educational grants and things that we've had, and we haven't talked about like mentoring and coaching, like if we have a need in the math department. Can you touch on maybe a few of those things?
As I said previously, Jude, we're listening for what districts need. We don't try to offer services that we are just trying to sell because we want to offer you something that's very important to your district. If you need a math coach or a literacy coach, we're helping you look for that person. If you need a grant written for libraries, we'll do that. If you need us to work with new teachers that are coming in, we'll do that too. So we are listening constantly.
Well, I'd like to thank you so much for joining me today. We can do a whole nother segment.
Yes.
This is Jude Meyers, Superintendent, Gallia County Schools, speaking for Dr. Shockley, my guest today. Thank you so much for joining us.